here with you. White Eagle, Sam Melton. Just say no. Right now we want to talk about a certain situation that's going on in Israel. They call it the Hannibal Code. The Hannibal Code states, better to kill your own soldiers than let them be captured. In case of a swap, they have no merchandise to swap. This is outrageous. In our country, the Marines don't even leave their bodies, much less their own soldiers. They'll fight to the last man. What's next, Israel? And now they have turned the Hannibal Code on to civilians. Yes, they have killed their own Israeli civilians. I mean, we really got to question the sanity of this country and this military machine. They have completely lost any sense of human rights or logic. This is not a battlefield unit. This is a terrorist, and that's what the Israelis have become. The evidence is the evidence. Anyway, let's go to what happened, this situation. Hamas took hostages at Kibbutz Bariana. And in this hostage taking, they took a house in the kibbutz town and they put the hostages in there with themselves. The Israeli commander fired 2 tank shells directly into the house. The Israeli commander fired 2 tank shells into the house, killing Israeli civilians. I repeat, killing Israeli civilians. I mean, this is really immoral and beyond any kind of state of human decency. When are you going to wake up, America, and stop funding this fascist war machine? Isn't the army there to protect the civilians? That was my understanding. Human rights in Israel, I guess it's just a joke. The Israelis killed directly 2 of their civilians to get some Hamas fighters. How long do we support this terrorist military machine that we have armed and funded? Really, America? Really? You need to question what we are doing.
Hello and welcome back to the Electronic Intifada's live stream for Thursday, May 29th. Thank you for tuning in. I'm Nora Barrows-Friedman with my colleagues Ali Abunimah, John Elmer, Asa Winstanley, and Tamara Nassar. It's day 601 of Israel's genocide in Gaza. Coming up, we'll talk to our contributor, Donya Abusitta, in Gaza, as Israel deliberately starves the population there. And veteran investigative journalist Jeremy Scahill of Dropsite News will join us to discuss the latest on possible ceasefire talks. Later on in the program, John will bring us the latest resistance news from Gaza, where unexploded U.S.-supplied Israeli bombs continue to be used against the invaders. But first, let's take a look at the news. Here's a brief summary of some of the latest developments this week in Palestine. Israeli attacks across Gaza targeted homes, shelters, medical clinics, and community kitchens and bakeries this week, as the recorded death toll since October 2023 surpassed 54,000, with thousands more missing and buried underneath the rubble. More than 400 Palestinians were killed this week alone. On Tuesday, May 27th, another grim milestone was reached as the Israeli army received the 800th delivery of weapons and military equipment by plane from the United States since October 2023, under both the Biden and Trump administrations. The Israeli government boasted that 800 U.S. cargo planes, along with 140 cargo ships, have delivered more than 90,000 tons of arms and ammunition, military gear, and other equipment to the Israelis over the course of this genocide. U.S.-made weapons were reportedly used in an attack on a school-turned-shelter for displaced families just days ago. In the early hours of Monday morning, May 26th, Israel bombed the Fahmi al-Jarjawi school in Gaza City, engulfing it in flames. Maha Husseini and Mira al-Adam reported for Middle East Eye that people were asleep when Israel struck the building. Rescue workers and family members recovered the remains of more than 30 Palestinians, including 18 children, burned beyond recognition. A survivor of the massacre told the publication that, quote, those who were awake and moving through the hallways were either burned or thrown by the blast, and that the Israeli military used at least 3 missiles in the attack. Another survivor, Mohammed Shakir al-Masri, told Middle East Eye that the missile's impact sealed the doors to the classroom where his relatives stayed. Quote, they couldn't escape and were burned to death. Everything went black and pitch dark. We were asleep and only woke up to find the fire around us and the rubble above us. Flesh and body parts were everywhere, al-Masri said, noting that several family members, including his cousin's children, were killed in the attack. Most of the rest are now in the hospital, he added. Holding a black bag in one hand, al-Masri was picking up the remains of victims strewn around in the wreckage, the reporters write. I gathered these body parts from beneath the rubble, and there are still many remains left. My cousin was killed, and we still haven't been able to retrieve his body. All we're pulling out are small fragments, he told Middle East Eye. We haven't found him. We only managed to retrieve his leg and these chunks of flesh, but the rest of his body is still missing. A 4-year-old girl, Hanin al-Wadia, was captured on video walking through flames, images I won't show here, but which had spread across the world. She is the sole survivor of her immediate family and is currently receiving medical care. She told reporter Wissam Shabat the story of how she woke up to find her uncle Hamza's body beside her, surrounded by flames. To survive, Hanin had to walk through flames and charred bodies, unbearable trauma for a child her age, Shabat reported. Her uncle, Nurse Ahmed al-Wadia, confirmed to Shabat that Hanin's sister, Mimi, her mother, and her father were all killed in the Israeli airstrike. Hanin suffered 2nd and 3rd degree burns on her arms and legs and now carries both the physical scars and the nightmare of being the only one left, Shabat said. Another child, 7-year-old Warid, who narrowly escaped the flames, testified that her mother and all of her siblings were killed in the attack. Faris Afanna, the director of emergency and ambulance services in northern Gaza, stated that when rescue workers arrived, 3 classrooms were entirely engulfed in fire, and he heard people screaming, but the flames were so intense that rescuers couldn't save them. He said, quote, it was a massacre in every sense of the word. Charred bodies of children and women, charred corpses. It was a heartbreaking scene that I cannot put into words. Al Jazeera reported that the Israeli army used GBU-39 small-diameter guided bombs made by Boeing. The company markets this particular weapon, part of its Precision Engagement Systems missile suite, as, quote, a low-cost precision weapon system that provides a 4-fold increase in sortie effectiveness. Al Jazeera's fact-finding Sanad agency said that, quote, multiple investigations have documented their use in targeting displacement camps in central and southern Gaza. Once launched from an aircraft, the bomb deploys its wings and uses a GPS guidance system to precisely correct its trajectory towards its target. It is also equipped with a warhead designed to penetrate hard targets, such as reinforced concrete or fortifications, before detonation. Al Jazeera added that images they analyzed from the site of the attack show that the bomb broke through the school's roof and first floor before detonating on the ground floor, killing at least 36 people. On Saturday, May 24th, Israel carried out a massacre in Khan Yunis in southern Gaza, targeting the home of 2 doctors and killing 9 of their 10 children. Dr. Ala al-Najjar is a pediatric specialist. Her husband, Dr. Hamdi al-Najjar, is also a physician, and he was home with the children while she was working at the Nasser Medical Complex, treating children. Hamdi's brother, who rushed to the site of the bombing as soon as he heard that his brother's home had been hit, told Middle East Eye that when he reached the house, Hamdi was lying motionless on the ground with his son beside him. The home was engulfed in flames. Quote, "The children were completely charred," he said. Minutes later, he saw his sister-in-law, the children's mother, Dr. Ala al-Najjar, arrive in horror. Quote, "She had run on foot from the hospital to the house. 4 of her children were pulled out, charred right in front of her eyes," he said. He described the ongoing agony of not knowing the fate of 2 missing children. 7 children were pulled from under the rubble, and 2, Yahya, 13, and Sidra, just 6 months old, are still missing. We cannot find them. He said civil defense teams resumed the search the next morning but found nothing. Quote, "Their mother cannot even identify the bodies. The children are so badly burned she cannot tell who is who." Dr. Hamdi and 1 child, 11-year-old Adam, survived. Donia Abusita, writing for Dropsite News, reports that, quote, "The family of 12 has now become a family of 3, 2 of whom are in the ICU. The bombing does not stop. Families are being wiped out. The tragedies are unimaginable. The killing is relentless." We'll have more from Donia in a few minutes. The Gaza government media office stated after the attack on the al-Najjar home that, quote, "The massacre was carried out without any reason or justification, other than that killing has become a hobby and a pleasure for Israeli soldiers in taking the lives of innocent children." Amidst the massacres, the Israeli army is continuing to shrink the areas in which Palestinians live in Gaza. Israel issued new forced displacement orders to residents of Khan Yunis after 90% of the city area had already been put under expulsion orders last week. Other displacement orders were issued over additional areas in central and southern Gaza, covering about 155 square kilometers in total, according to the United Nations Humanitarian Office. These areas under current forced expulsion orders represent more than 40% of the Gaza Strip, which overlaps with previous displacement orders, the UN said. In North Gaza, the UN's partners report that sites for internally displaced people are nearly empty in the wake of Israeli displacement orders issued for areas in and near Beit Hanun and Beit Lahia. Doctors Without Borders stated this week that Israeli forces, quote, "continue to systematically use last-minute displacement orders as a violent tool, turning the Gaza Strip, Palestine, into hell on earth for Palestinians." The group's logistics manager, Omar Al-Sakka, said, quote, "Our colleagues are desperate. There are no tents left and no space for people to set up. I don't know what to answer when colleagues ask me where they can go with their children in the middle of the night. We are running out of options to stay alive." These displacement orders and established no-go military zones now cover more than 80% of Gaza, and not a single area of Gaza has been spared from attacks, Doctors Without Borders added. This week, after nearly 90 days of Israel's forced starvation policy under a blockade that began in early March, Israel and its U.S. partners opened 2 of 4 so-called aid distribution centers, claiming they began a private effort to distribute aid to 2 million Palestinians. But as Palestinian and international aid agencies say, these sites are meant to further compound and provide cover for Israel's policy of mass starvation, while operating with ineffective, humiliating, and lethal procedures. On Tuesday, May 27th, Israeli and private American mercenary forces, under the auspices of the, quote, Gaza Humanitarian Foundation, forced Palestinians to walk dozens of kilometers to reach a militarized zone in Rafah, surrounded by the Israeli army, then were herded like livestock through biometric surveillance corridors to receive one box of food items that barely covered basic needs, and, quote, without any clear system or dignity-respecting protocol in place, according to Euromed Human Rights Monitor, whose field researchers reported from the site. Euromed stated on Tuesday that, quote, Israeli forces deliberately degraded civilians by confining them behind barbed wire, while the U.S. managing company failed to provide even the most basic conditions to safely accommodate tens of thousands of people desperate for aid after over 2 months of total blockade. Many were compelled to walk long distances to reach a single aid point, where they were forced into humiliatingly narrow, fenced pathways, only to receive a meager food parcel before exiting through another highly restrictive route, an ordeal wholly devoid of human dignity or humanitarian sensibility, Euromed stated. Thousands of Palestinians arrived at the disorganized site and found total chaos there. The U.S. company and its guarding forces failed to control the situation, prompting intervention from Israeli troops. The mayhem resulted in an Israeli helicopter opening fire near the crowds and causing injuries, some due to stampedes, Euromed explained. At least 46 people were shot and injured, and 3 were killed. The volume of Palestinians at the site was so great that the U.S. team pulled back, saying it had relaxed security protocols briefly, quote, to safeguard against crowd reactions to finally receiving food, and claimed that Hamas had blockaded access to the site. The Gaza government media office rebuked those claims, saying on Tuesday that, quote, the allegation that the resistance imposed barriers preventing citizens from accessing aid is a complete fabrication that has no basis in reality and constitutes a dangerous deviation from the discourse of an organization that claims to be humanitarian neutral. The documented truth, documented by field reports and the Hebrew language media itself, is that the real reason for the delay and collapse in the aid distribution process is the tragic chaos caused by the mismanagement of the same company, which is affiliated with the Israeli Occupation Administration itself in these buffer zones. This resulted in thousands of hungry people rushing out under the pressure of the siege and hunger, then storming the distribution centers and seizing food, interspersed with gunfire from the Israeli occupation. This all came on the heels of the abrupt resignation 2 days prior of Jake Wood, the head of the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation, which is registered in Switzerland and Delaware. Wood said that the group's plans could not be consistent with what he called the humanitarian principles of humanity, neutrality, impartiality, and independence. The Washington Post reported that the chief operating officer, David Burke, has also resigned. The United Nations, along with every other established international aid agency, has refused to abet the U.S.-Israeli aid trap. Jonathan Whittall, the head of the Office for the UN's Humanitarian Affairs for Palestine, stated on Wednesday that, quote, these events illustrate how the collective punishment of Palestinians continues, and the assault on their human dignity is accelerating. The newly developed distribution scheme is more than just the control of aid, Whittall said. It is engineered scarcity. 4 distribution hubs located in central and southern Gaza, secured by private U.S. security contractors, where those Palestinians who can reach them will receive rations. One of these hubs is near the spot where Israeli forces killed and buried in a mass grave 15 first responders. For me, Whittall continued, this is a grotesque symbol of how life in Gaza and that which sustains it is being erased and controlled. The new distribution model cannot possibly meet Gaza's needs. Knowingly designing a plan that falls short of minimum obligations under international law is essentially an admission of guilt. The U.S.-backed entity that has been created to deliver on this plan institutionalizes Israel's restrictions on aid delivery from the outset. This is not humanitarianism. Humanitarian action would seek to reach all civilians wherever they are and would push back on measures to limit aid instead of accepting these conditions up front. This new scheme is surveillance-based rationing that legitimizes a policy of deprivation by design, and it comes at a time when people in Gaza, half of whom are children, are facing a crisis of survival. Those were the words of Jonathan Whitall of the UN Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs in a speech to the press on May 28th. The Gaza government media office stated after the chaos and killings at the Rafah distribution point that, quote, "What is happening is conclusive evidence of the occupation's failure to manage the humanitarian situation it deliberately caused through a systematic policy of siege, starvation, bombardment, and destruction. The establishment of isolation ghettos and forced assembly lines amid the threat of death and starvation does not express a genuine humanitarian intention," the office added. Rather, it embodies a racist political engineering aimed at dismantling Palestinian society, perpetuating its suffering, and providing a false humanitarian cover for the occupation's security and military agendas, the media office said. On Wednesday, May 28th, the U.S.-Israeli company opened another distribution site west of Rafah, and again, Israeli forces opened fire and 6 Palestinians were killed trying to acquire a meager amount of aid. The Lemkin Institute for Genocide Prevention stated on Wednesday that, quote, "The U.S.-backed distribution of aid in Gaza using ex-military staff is a weaponization of food and a grotesque mockery of humanitarianism. This cruel spectacle is meant to distract from Israel's plans to forcibly displace all Palestinians from Palestine. Such action is as far away from humanitarian aid as one can go. We call it what it is, a tool of genocide." We'll have much more discussion on the entrenching weaponization of food, water, medicine, and basic necessities right after this newscast. Meanwhile, Israel has this week been attacking community kitchens and assassinating humanitarian relief workers in what seems to be part of its plan to force Palestinians to depend solely on this private U.S.-Israeli mercenary company for any food at all. Last week on May 22nd, Israeli forces killed 6 aid workers and security guards in Deir al-Balah, according to the government media office, while they were working to secure 2 trucks of humanitarian aid and essential medical supplies and ensure their arrival to hospitals in the area. Armed gangs, enabled by Israeli forces, attacked the trucks and security personnel and began stealing the humanitarian aid in what appears to be the latest coordination between the army and local gangs, according to local media reports. As security forces tried to repel the assailants and safeguard the aid, Israeli warplanes launched strikes, killing the aid workers, Middle East Eye stated. The Gaza government media office stated that, quote, "It has become clear that the occupation army is systematically working to enable the looting of humanitarian aid and medicine trucks and to ensure they do not reach their beneficiaries by targeting those who organize and ensure their safe passage." On Monday and Tuesday of this week, the Israeli military deliberately targeted 20 community kitchens and food distribution and storage sites. Al Jazeera said that, quote, "Most of the Israeli airstrikes took place in Gaza City and other parts of northern Gaza, an area that has not received any aid since Israel began enforcing its total blockade on the enclave in early March." We've published many features on the electronic intifada in the last week, but we wanted to highlight excerpts of "As Long as Gaza Walks, It Refuses to Fall" by Asma Abdu, writing from Gaza. Asma writes about walking through a changed geography of Gaza, brutalized and desecrated after 19 months of genocide. She writes, quote, "Among the destruction, I see some houses that are still standing, but only partly. The walls are cracked, roofs caved in, and windows shattered. Families who have nowhere else to go try to make their broken homes livable again. They hang fabric and old clothes over gaping holes in the walls, desperate for some privacy, for some sense of shelter. These makeshift coverings flap in the wind, a fragile barrier against the outside world. Before, these homes were places of warmth, filled with the smells of home-cooked meals, the sound of children's play, and the comfort of family gatherings. Now they are cold and broken, their residents living in fear of another strike that will bring the walls crumbling down completely. The streets remain filled with destruction, the markets with empty shelves, and the hospitals with patients who cannot be treated. Those who fled south seeking safety return to find nothing but the same tents, the same hunger, the same desperation. Even when aid trucks are allowed in, prices are impossibly high. How can people who have not worked for over a year afford food that now costs double? There is no rebuilding, no healing, no return to normalcy. The ceasefire was never meant to bring peace. It was merely a brief inhale before the next strike. Now, as the genocide is resumed in full force, once again, people wander the streets aimlessly. But this time they do not fear death. They fear life, a life that is no longer a life, but a relentless descent into hell. Yet they walk. There are no cars, no buses, no fuel, only the will to keep moving. Women in their traditional prayer clothes walk with faces marked by grief, but they still smile. Children carrying jugs of water on frail shoulders, their feet covered in dust, yet they press forward. I see men who have lost everything, families, homes, livelihoods, continue to put one foot in front of the other. Before the genocide, walking was an act of healing. Now it is a confrontation with pain. But as long as Gaza walks, it refuses to fall. Even through the ruins, Gaza walks on, and as long as we walk, we are still here. Those are excerpts from As Long as Gaza Walks, It Refuses to Fall by Asma Abdu, writing from Gaza on electronicintifada.net. Asma is a project coordinator with the Samir Project, a humanitarian relief organization. And finally, as we always do, we wanted to highlight people expressing joy, determination, and resilience across Palestine. A group of Palestinian bakers in Gaza sang while they baked bread after a trickle of flour entered Gaza last week. The lyrics of the song, titled "Where Have Our Days Gone?" are as follows. I cry for loved ones, the tears run down my cheeks. I swear, my friends, I'll never forget your days. Where have our days gone? Oh, where? Where did we spend them? They vanished in the blink of an eye. How sweet their memories. I sang from deep yearning, aching for the days of youth. And that's it for the news roundup. As always, go to electronicintifada.net for much more, especially to read our new features by our brave writers in Gaza. You're watching the Electronic Intifada live stream. I'm Nora Barrows-Friedman with my colleague Ali Abunimah. Hi, Ali.
Hi, Nora. How are you?
I'm hanging in there, as we all are. It was so good to see you and Abu Bakr on the live stream last week, and I know it's just kind of there's so much brutality that everyone is experiencing, and it's also really important to hold on to these moments of joy. And I know that you did just that in Ireland, and
It really feels like a dream, and
yeah.
I'm so grateful that I was able to go to Ireland and meet Abu Bakr and Iman al-Hajj Ali and some of the other students.
Yeah.
And so many of our Irish comrades who are doing extraordinary work. And we're going to be talking about that later too, but it was wonderful. And I think Abu Bakr may even be watching tonight. So shout out to you, Abu Bakr. I miss you. I really miss you.
We all do. Well, thank you. We have a packed show, so let's go straight to Gaza. Just a reminder that you're watching and listening to the Electronic Intifada live stream. I'm Nora Barrows-Friedman here with my colleague Ali Abunimah. We're pleased to be joined by Donia Abusita, live from the Gaza Strip. Donia is a regular contributor to the Electronic Intifada, as well as other publications, including Drop Site News and We Are Not Numbers. She's also a kindergarten teacher in Gaza. Thank you so much for joining us, Donia.
Hello.
Hi, Donia. Hi, yes.
How are you?
So good to see you. And we wanted to start off by just congratulating you. You graduated from a program amidst all of this. So congratulations. We're going to ask you more about the degrees that you're pursuing and the education that you're continuing to do underneath these just unbearable circumstances. But yeah.
Congratulations. Congratulations, Dunya. I understand you graduated from Al-Aqsa University in English language, and to graduate and to continue your studies during this this genocide is an extraordinary achievement. And despite all this,
At the beginning, I think this joy is incomplete because this events around me, this genocide. And after I posted this tweet and see how people are saying congratulations to me and show the love, I feel that it's something joy, and I have the fun of graduations.
Well, it's an enormous achievement and you should be proud of it. And we are proud of you, Dunya, because your determination to continue your studies under the worst conditions that human beings can live under, and while other human beings are doing the worst things possible to people in Gaza, that's really a credit to you, a credit to all of those around you, and we want to celebrate it. So Alf Mabruk to you, Dunya.
Thank you so much. Actually, at the beginning, thank you, Nora. I wanted to say also congratulations to Isha, as he has a great victory. And from this point, I want to start my talking today. What does free journalism mean to the world, and what is the right of speaking mean to the people around the world, and does everyone in the world has this right, and in each situation, and speak freely in each case and each situations? Surely not Asa just who was arrested, but also you, Dr. Ali, was arrested before. And what's your crime? Just you are speak loud about what happening around you. And I think journalism isn't a crime. And hundreds of journalists in Gaza here are killing. And the real crime is that killing of these people. And Israel is called each and every Palestinian, but more focusing on journalists, because they are let the people around the world learn more about what's happening here with each report, with each photo, and every video, every speech. They allow to the people around the world know about Gaza more and more. And because of this great job, the people around the world start knowing more about the starvation. So these people are taking protests and actions to stop this starvations, and they are succeeded because they forced Israel to enter as to Gaza. But what the Israel do and how they did enter Gaza to Gaza, they are with U.S. government, they created Gaza Humanitarian Foundations. But isn't each foundation has a goal? What's the goal of this foundation? It's not stop starvations or stop famine, but it's want to black out the coverage, the media coverage, so the people are don't know about starvation, and the starvation is continuous, and the people around the world don't know anything about it. And it's clear by the amount of ads they are distribute, and the way they have to distribute the food and the ads is not organized, and this is aimed to make just miss in actions people, and then the all media will focus on this and forget the starvations. And the second thing, it is a humanitarian, but if it is a humanitarian, it is not allowed to the people still under the sun for hours and walk more than 10 to 15 kilometers to just go to that area, and that's not a stupid thing for a human. And also, it is not organized. It's according to Al Jazeera reports, there were more than 400 points to distribute ads to the people in Gaza in the past day of genocide, 400, and we got just ad each 3 months, and they just created 4 points and want to give the ads weekly. It's like a joke. It's reflect that they don't have a plan for this. It's not well studied for this foundations, and it is foundation, so it is must be well blended.
Yeah.
Dunya,
Go ahead.
Dunya, we've seen the horrifying images of, and we've seen the reports about the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation. But describe to us, we ask you this every time because it's important to know what the real situation is. Describe to us the situation around you, what you're seeing with your own eyes, in your family, your neighbors, the people around you, in terms of the availability of food right now.
If I want to start to describe the situation around me, I will start, and I will not even end this, because it is more things happening around me. For example, about evacuations, or about the evacuations here in Khan Yunis, because it's many areas here in Khan Yunis is asked to evacuate it. Just a few areas, just people stay, and there is no transportations for people to go from place to another place. For example, for me to come to this workspace, I walked more than 30 minutes, and it's when I walked this 30 minutes, I saw that the people are sleep at the street and stay at the street without tents or anything to cover them from at the night, and just they still in the street without anything, because they are evacuated in just a few hours. And in another things about Gaza Humanitarian Foundations, there is a neighbor of us at the same building. Today at 5 a.m. he is woke up and went to that area, hoping to get some ads for their children, and he returned empty-handed, because there's the amount of that ads is so little, more little, and isn't enough for all people here.
No, and looking at those boxes, the images of what was inside those aid boxes, I mean, it was basically snacks, and this private U.S. mercenary company under the name the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation has said that only one family can get one box a week. I mean, it's cruelty on a mass scale. It's humiliation. It's stripped of all dignity. What are people that you're talking to saying about this? About this renew. They're not opening the crossings. It's been almost 90 days of closures. There are, thousands of trucks waiting to enter. And yet it's this like private U.S. mercenary company that is making a big deal out of what they're doing, and it's not making a dent. And in fact, Palestinians are putting their lives at risk, even trying to acquire these boxes.
Yeah, if we are looked at what is this box of food contain, it's surely it is not what people need in this day after 80 days without any food here entering Gaza, because there is more important than these things, and children needs it more than this. And if we are looked here, families in Gaza normally contain of 7 to 10 members, and so this box of food will not just go for 2 days, and they want to just distribute weekly.
It's unbearable. Dunya, we wanted to ask about the recent article that you wrote for Dropsite. You wrote about the targeting of Dr. Ala al-Najjar's house and the killing of 9 of her 10 children. You wrote, quote, "I turned on my camera and began recording. I didn't know yet that the fire was burning the bodies of my neighbor's children." You live so close to that massacre. Can you tell us what happened, what you saw that day? This was just a few days ago.
Yeah, I feel in the building in the 5th floor, and when any attack on Khan Yunis, when I go to the balcony and I see that, and as my job, it's the documentations for this crimes, so I start my camera and filming that, and I don't know that is my neighbors, and it is my neighbors, and they are burning at the home. At the beginning, I think, or I thought that it is my neighborhood, but I don't know that the people are still in the building. And after that, a few minutes just, my sister called me and say that building is for Dr. Hamdi, and his children is still at the home. And I opened my neighborhood group on WhatsApp and saying, and that the news saying that's 9 children killed and just 1 children Adam survived.
I mean, can you talk about, just this image I have of, a doctor, 2 doctors, but Dr. Ala was working at Nasser Medical Complex. She's a pediatrician. She was probably treating, victims of recent Israeli airstrikes. She was trying with limited means and resources right now because of the blockade, trying to keep her patients, her children alive, and then only to be notified that her own house and her own children are engulfed in flames. I mean, can you talk about who Dr. Ala is, the place that she has in that community, and the impact that it's had on people across Palestine? I mean, the story went all around the world, but for people in Khan Yunis who know the al-Najjar family, what kind of impact does that just a horrifying story make?
I was seeing these children every day while I go into university because there are schools behind my home, and I go to the main road next to their home to go to the university. And each day and every day I was met them, and we are laugh and just kidding and talking on the street. And I cannot, as I'm not a part of their families, but I'm still not able to imagine that if I return to neighborhood, I will not see all of them, because they are so sweet and so cute, and so they are just speaking to everyone. It's so clever. It's the most people I see clever and have so many things learned. They are learning even in the holiday, because they wanna to be a doctors like their mothers and their fathers, and they are study hard. Uh, and also Dr. Ala and Dr. Hamdi was helping all people around us here in neighborhood, because there is no medicine and complex or hospital at our neighborhood. And when we are have any injured, even during the day, during the night, we go to their homes and we are walk up them just to treat the people. And even for me or for my family, I walked them more than one time just to see my brother when he are sick. And they are more helpful people in our neighbors. And they are having many many fun things that is sharing all children during the neighborhood.
It's an extraordinary loss, and it's just unbelievable seeing these crimes in front of the eyes of the world, Dunya. And it's just, we're so grateful to you for continuing to report and tell us about them despite these difficult, unbelievable circumstances.
Yeah. Dunya, finally, you have so many talents, and you're so busy, and amidst everything, even preparing to graduate from university and working as a teacher for kindergartners, and trying to survive this genocide. You're also an extraordinary writer and poet. You recently self-published a book of vignettes called Pieces, written from the perspective of different protagonists in Palestine. What can you tell us about writing and completing this book? You sent me a copy, and it is beautiful. And again, alf mabruk for this as well. This just incredible body of work. Tell us about
Thank you.
why you wrote it and who it's for.
Actually, I wrote it as a treatment, because when I was sad or I have no energy to keep on this life and these circumstances, I wrote a poem or wrote a message, and after that I collected them together as a book, and my friend Shana helped me to edit it, and we are trying to publish it on the website too, and we are still working on it. And it is just for everyone who wanted to know about Palestine, even if they love it or not, because I believe that after reading it, we will love Palestine.
Mm. And people are asking how they can get a copy of it. We can add that after this live stream. We can give people the link, but I know that people all over the world will want to read it and support you and support your work. And
it's my honor reading this book.
It's always our honor to have you. And again, congratulations on finishing your studies and for writing this incredible book and for staying so strong. And we're just always happy to see you. And yeah, please take care, Donia.
Okay, thank you. Goodbye.
Thank you, Dunya. Thank you. And we hope to see you very soon. And God bless you and protect you and all those around you.
I hope to. Thank you for all of you.
Thank you. It's always very emotional to speak with Donia.
I always think about what Dunya said a few weeks ago, and when we spoke with Ruwaida Ahmed, also from Gaza a few weeks ago, about how staying busy and active and doing work is part of survival.
Yeah.
And I think that's true for many of us outside Gaza too. But for people in Gaza, they don't have the opportunity to, just turn it off, to take a break. We all have to do that. We all have to look after ourselves. But in Gaza, there's no escaping from the drones, from the bombing, from the starvation. So it's just extraordinary that Dunya and all the other journalists and writers and teachers and doctors and medics in Gaza, the mothers who are still looking after their children, the fathers, everyone is continuing to do their best to look after their families, their children, and the people around them. And it's just amazing.
It is. Well, do you want to introduce our next guest?
Yeah. And just, of course, a reminder that you're watching and listening to the Electronic Intifada live stream. I'm Ali Abunema here with my colleague Nora Barros-Friedman. On Wednesday, U.S. President Donald Trump and his Middle East envoy Steve Witkoff expressed optimism for an agreement to bring about a ceasefire in Gaza. We're joined now to talk about the negotiations by veteran investigative journalist Jeremy Scahill. Jeremy has reported from war and conflict zones around the world, including Iraq, Afghanistan, Yemen, Somalia, and Yugoslavia. He is the author of the international best-selling books Blackwater, The Rise of the World's Most Powerful Mercenary Army, and Dirty Wars, The World is a Battlefield. Most recently, he co-founded Dropsite News, where he's been closely following the developments around the effort to negotiate an end to Israel's genocide in Gaza. Welcome, Jeremy.
Thank you, Ali and Nora. And I want to say before we get into the nitty gritty of all of this that it's really a deep honor to be on this program. I've watched it consistently throughout this genocide, and I've for 20 plus years I've been a fan and a consumer of Electronic Intifada, and I want to also give credit to Electronic Intifada for publishing Palestinian journalists, no matter what is happening. You stand in a class of your own as a platform in the English language for Palestinian journalists to report on their lives, on their struggle, in their own voice. And so I just want to express deep gratitude to everyone at Electronic Intifada for all of the tremendous work you've done, not just over the past 19 months, but over so many years.
Thank you so much, Jeremy. Those words really mean a lot to me and to all my colleagues, I'm sure, especially coming from you. And we're really happy to have you with us today because you've been doing some really incredible reporting that no one else has been doing around these negotiations. Before we get into that, let's start by listening to the comments of President Trump and Steve Witkoff about the ceasefire negotiations made during their press conference in the White House yesterday. Let's take a look at that.
You've called for an end to the Gaza war. Given the growing humanitarian crisis and the decision of Prime Minister Netanyahu to expand the military operation, do you have any frustration with his handling of the situation of the war?
No, we're dealing with the whole situation in Gaza. We're getting food to the people of Gaza. It's It's been a very nasty situation, very nasty fight. October 7th was a very nasty day, the worst that I think I've ever seen. It was a horrible day, and people aren't going to forget that either. So we'll see how that all works out. And Steve, would you want to say a couple of words about Gaza, because you just have some information? Steve Witkoff, do you want to come up for a second? You might give them a little bit of information as to what's happening with Gaza and also Israel. We're having some very good talks with Iran. We'll find out whether that means anything, but we're having good talks.
Congratulations. Well, hi everybody. I think that we are on the precipice of sending out a new term sheet that hopefully will be delivered later on today. The President is going to review it, and I have some very good feelings about getting to a long-term resolution, temporary ceasefire, and a long-term resolution, a peaceful resolution of that conflict.
Jeremy, we'll get into some of the background that led up to this moment, but before that, you have actually obtained at Dropside News the so-called term sheet that Steve Witkoff mentioned, the outlines of this new proposal, and you have a new piece that's just gone up about it. Outline for us what you've learned and what the latest developments are.
Well, some of the terms in this are very similar to what existed in the January ceasefire agreement that, Trump basically pushed through just prior to his inauguration. Among them would be that there would be a resumption of aid delivery into Gaza that would be largely coordinated by the United Nations and the Red Crescent, which is interesting because it doesn't say anything about what would happen to the so-called Gaza Humanitarian Foundation, this sham operation that is intended to be part of Netanyahu's war of annihilation against Palestinians and against Gaza as a Palestinian territory. But it also has, typical captive exchange. There's some differences to what Hamas had initially thought was going to be in this. Under this term sheet, it says that 5 living Israeli captives would be released on the first day of a 60-day temporary truce. 5 additional living Israelis would be released on day 7. There would be a total of 18 bodies of deceased Israeli captives that would be exchanged. And the Palestinian resistance would secure freedom for well over 1,000 Palestinians as part of this. Most of them are people that were kidnapped from Gaza explicitly to be used as bargaining chips in exchange deals with Hamas and the Palestinian.
Americans, Jews, other groups. Why can't we unlearn our prejudices against Arabs and Muslims? What matters is not to remain silent. I think whenever we see anyone being vilified on a regular basis, we have to speak out, whether we're image makers or not. We have to take a stand and say this is morally and ethically wrong to demonize a people.
Thank you for joining me. Sam Melton, White Eagle, with Just Say No. Thank you. Have a good evening. Joining me. Have a great evening of Just Say No.
Thank you. Resistance.